Welcome to Fucked Up Fables. If destroying your childhood is something you enjoy, you've come to the right place. So today I'm going to be finishing up the epic tale of Gilgamesh, which kind of ended on a cliffhanger. And I felt evil for doing that, but also sorry, not sorry. Because my story is, it's tragic. And because that's the only thing wrong with it, it just kind of felt perfect for the show. So, I don't know. Maybe I'm a terrible person. Whatever. So to recap what happens, everyone remembers. So Gilgamesh is a tyrant king, and the gods decide to create Enkidu to humble him. Enkidu is a wild man who is turned civil by the wily ways of Shamat, and then challenges Gilgamesh. They become good friends. They go off and fight demon guardian Humbaba, slay him. The goddess Inanna tries to seduce Gilgamesh. He says, "No way, Jose." She sends a bull to fight him. They kill it, and then because of all this, they are punished by Enkidu dying. So that's the recap.
Because he threw a leg at somebody.
Because he threw a leg.
Fucked Up Fables life rule number 72. Don't throw severed limbs at people. Specifically God.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could throw them at like your neighbors as long as you're fairly certain that your neighbor is not a god.
Yeah.
You shouldn't. They'll call the police. There'll be an investigation.
They'll find the other severed limbs that you've been hiding.
It could get, it could get a little wonky and weird, you know. Right, my ice shifted in my cup.
I love this.
It's totally silent in my house, and then the ice just shifted, and I was like, what the fuck is this? Oh, it's nice. Yeah. So, anyways. So, back to the story. Hope you have your tissues ready. So, Gilgamesh is devastated. He holds on to Enkidu for days and cries over him, letting no one move him or even take him away to be prepared for burial. So he stays in this state for 7 days. 7 fucking days. He cries holding Enkidu. Now, I would just like to point out that this is not the way that you mourn a normal person. Okay, just saying. So after those 7 days, he touches Enkidu where his heart would be, looking for a heartbeat. And when he finds none, he accepts that Enkidu is dead and lays a veil over him, similar to how one would do with a bride. And he says, "What is this sleep which holds... What is this sleep which holds you now? You are lost in the dark and cannot hear me." I told you, it's going to be sad. So Enkidu is taken away and prepared, and Gilgamesh calls upon everyone and everything in Uruk, including the mountains, to mourn this loss, and starts creating a funeral statue for him. He gathers up gifts to send with Enkidu so he can have a good afterlife, and tells anyone who would listen, and some who won't, tales of their adventures together. So it's kind of like in what we've learned of like the ancient Egyptians, where they would be buried with their like worldly possessions and stuff like that, so they could have a lavish life. And Enkidu technically had nothing. So,
except a prostitute.
Yeah, except for Shamat. I don't know if she stayed with him the whole time or not. It's kind of unclear.
Oh, well.
So,
she's the reason that he died, so it's fine.
Exactly. You know, dang. Alright, so, quote, "And when you have gone to the earth, I will let my hair grow long for your sake. I will wander through the wilderness in the skin of a lion." Oh, wait, hold on, I gotta get into wild hair. It's not really wild. Whatever. So, we got the hair. Alright. So Enkidu is given a water burial, and Gilgamesh finds his depression is so great that he cannot move past this. He begins to fear his own death and starts to worry about his own morality. So this thought kind of becomes all-consuming, and he starts to question the point of living and gaining accomplishments if the ultimate end is to die. And so with these thoughts, he decides to look for a way to become immoral.
That's funny.
He's already immoral.
Yeah, I was just going to say, pretty sure we're already there, buddy.
So wait, he wants to live forever depressed? Because depressed people don't usually think about living forever.
Yeah, he seeing Enkidu die and knowing that everything that they have done and all of that is like no more, like it's gone. There's no point. He kind of gets this like literal fear, like paranoia of death. Like he is so fearful of his own death that he's like, I need to find a way to stop my death from happening. Sort of, yeah. Thing.
So like a normal person would be like, I want to be with my love in the afterlife. Gilgamesh is like, fuck, I ain't dying, bitch.
This is awful. I don't want to go through that.
Yeah. 10 out of 10 would not recommend.
Yeah. Don't recommend dying.
So is he over Enkidu then?
You'll see. You'll see. So, quote.
He's going through a crisis.
He's going through his midlife crisis. So, quote. How can I rest? How can I be at peace? Despair is in my heart. What my brother is now, that shall I be when I am dead. Because I am afraid of death, I will go as best I can to find, excuse me for butchering this name, Utnapishtim. I'm just going to call him Utnap because this is a long name. Who they call the far away, for he has entered the assembly of the gods. End quote. So he starts his research in like a crazed panic and finds Utnap. So the man was actually an ancestor of Gilgamesh, and he was able to ascend to the rank of god. So they just more or less give him immortality. He doesn't necessarily become a god of anything. So Gilgamesh gathers up some supplies and sets out in search of him. So we're gonna take a little break from Gilgamesh because I'm sure you all are dying to know how Utnap reached level of godhood.
Dude, I was totally gonna ask, how does one become a god?
I will tell you how one becomes
asking for a friend.
I'm taking notes.
So one day the god Enki, no relation to Enkidu, that's just his name. So the god Enki comes to Utnap and says, look dude, there's gonna be a flood and I don't want to see you die. So Enki is the god of water, knowledge, and mischief, which in my opinion is a really interesting combo and kind of makes you wonder who starts this flood, if you feel me. So Enki draws a picture on the ground and tells Utnap that he needs to make a boat. But we're not talking just any boat. It needs to be built of solid timber so that when the rays of Utu, that's the sun god for y'all not paying attention, when the rays of Utu come, it could not penetrate through any part of this whole boat.
Well, yeah, no leaks.
Yeah. So this boat also needs to be as long and tall as it is wide, and he only has 7 days to do this.
Sounds suspiciously like Noah's Ark.
So,
or maybe Noah's Ark sounds suspiciously like this because I think this came first.
So yeah, remember in part 1 where I said there's a lot of parallels between this story and the Bible? Yeah, this is going to be kind of like Noah's Ark. I don't know what the official date on the Bible is, so I couldn't tell you.
Interestingly enough, maybe they're both preparing for the same flood.
Right, and like I know that like there are a couple of religions that have like similar like Judaism and Christianity kind of have a lot of events that overlap between the two in their books. So it wouldn't surprise me if this is something that is common in like all of them or whatever. This flood makes you wonder if something like this truly did happen and we just
I know. I'm like I wonder if this is like a real thing.
Yeah.
I was actually gonna say they found evidence of a large flood in that area several years ago that I vaguely remember hearing about.
Yeah, I know they've had like a couple of like potential like areas where it could have happened because they also think that that might have been like what caused Atlantis to sort of disappear as well as like the flood because like we have records of this Atlantis but we can't like actually find.
I wish it didn't cause Florida to disappear.
Did I say what I was about to say? Hopefully not. I don't need Florida MAGA people coming at us.
I was going to say, well, specifically, I will say this. At least the Florida Man stories have brought me great entertainment over the years.
Man, Florida Man.
Google Florida Man and your birthday.
Yeah, it's
no thanks.
Pretty insane shit that happens. I think mine involved an armless man stabbing somebody. Utnap only has 7 days to build this boat. We're not calling it an ark, it's a boat. But yes, to build this ark. So for his efforts, Utnap would be spared, and he is supposed to bring with him his wife, his entire family, the town craftsmen that are going to help him build this, grain, and baby animals. Specifically, baby animals.
I would get on that boat.
So Utnap goes to town and he tells all of these people what the dealio is, and then with their help, they're able to complete the boat. So this boat is 200 feet wide, 200 feet tall, and 200 feet long.
They
It
have built a
is
box.
built. Is built. And it is called the Preserver of Life. And there is about an acre's worth of deck on this thing. And yes,
Is that why we call it a life preserver?
I have no idea.
I mean, a life preserver is a pretty logical name for something that's used to preserve life.
Yeah, I think they just call it the Preserver of Life because it's, you know, like biblical Noah's Ark, a flood's gonna come and get rid of everything except for what's in the
I'm
ark.
gonna choose to believe that we call them life preservers because of this boat. Continue on.
That's acceptable. I'll give you that. It's 2020. Take what you want.
Right.
I will take what little
Friday
things
the
give me
13th.
joy.
In 2020,
Right.
take what you want.
Canon accepted. So on this Preserver of a Life boat, there are 7 floors, and each floor is broken up into 9 compartments. Did not do the math on that. It's a lot of fucking rooms. So when the boat is finished, everyone is gathered up and they enter the boat. Sorry, I just got a spam. Right where my words were. Alright, so the boat is finished, everyone is gathered up and enters the boat, and then the entrance to it is sealed shut. And as Inky says, a flood comes. So for 12 days, they float around until finally, I'm guessing Utnap just gets tired of being at sea with no light and decides to open up the door and peek out. So then they find themselves near Mount Nasir, and they manage to get the boat up to the bottom of this mount, and they rest there for 7 days. So they had 12 days of flood, and now they're resting for 7 days. So then after the 7th day, they want to see if the waters have receded enough for them to go out and do things. So he sends out a dove, and the dove flies around and reports back that they have not. I'm assuming that somebody can speak bird, and that's why they're able to determine. But no.
I was expecting an olive branch.
I don't know. So then the next day, he sends out a swallow, and just like before, it reports that the water levels have not changed. And then on the 3rd day, he sends out a raven. The raven flies around and reports that the waters have started to recede. So with this news, they decide to make a sacrifice to the gods, so they kill an animal, sorry. And then they let all of the remaining animals go free. And
I would like to point out that they just murdered a baby animal. That was the only creatures on that boat.
They did.
I'd also like to point out that if they did this in pairs, pairs like they do in Noah's Ark, now they can't reproduce, and they may have just made an entire species go extinct. That is a massive sacrifice.
So they
gods.
They don't say if it's doubles or anything like that. They just say baby animals.
And this is what happened to unicorns.
How did the baby birds fly around and report back?
They threw them off the boat and hoped for the best.
They should have thrown ducks.
Honestly, if you're gonna use a bird, you should use a crow. Those things are creepily smart.
Well, it's a raven.
I was gonna say ravens are too. But
Yeah.
my point is that you should have used ducks because they're semi-aquatic. So if it didn't know how to fly yet,
Aren't ducks made of wood?
Yeah, that's why they float.
It's a witch. Burn it.
I was gonna say all ducks are witches.
Oh Lord. Anyways, I don't know. This is the tale. I don't.
We have questions. We need answers.
I travel back to 2100 BC and ask these questions. Okay.
If I
will get on that.
I was gonna say if I ever complete a time machine.
First, I have a few cosplays I need to finish.
Right? Can I go back to when I was 16 and start cosplaying then, and streaming then, so I could get ahead of the curve?
Right?
Oh my god. Back when there was 56K dial-up internet every once in a while is where I lived.
Jesus.
There was
That's
no YouTube.
yeah. That's
There
how
wasn't even
I
a
was.
Facebook. It was old.
Alrighty. So. They make
I
it
believe
back.
though there was
What?
Friendster and VampireFreaks.com.
Oh God. Anyway.
Moving
So
on.
the gods come to them and they grant Utnap and his wife immortality for keeping their trust in the gods and preserving the seed of man, quote unquote. Also, apparently, fuck the rest of the people because they got nothing. The rest of the people get to survive. They don't get immortality. Fuck them. So, back to Gilgamesh. So, Gilgamesh is running around the wilderness like a wild man, just like he told Enkidu he would do, because he has no idea how to find Utnap. So, one night, he comes upon a pass and decides to, stop for the night and sleep, and is awoken in the middle of the night abruptly and finds himself surrounded by lions. So he sees that they are enjoying life. I don't know how because lions are fucking lazy as all hell, but whatever. So they're enjoying life, and he becomes so distraught at seeing them alive and knowing that Enkidu is dead that he kills
Hercules!
them all. So a couple more days pass with him just kind of like wandering around, and he finds this pass between a mountain called Mashu. And so it's like a twin peak type mountain, so it's like two mountain peaks, and there's like a path in between them. And so at the base of this peak, at the base of the peaks, like where that pass is, trying to describe this, it's not working. There are what are called scorpion men. They call them scorpion men, but then they say that they're half man, half dragon.
I mean, wyverns have like scorpion tails, kind of.
So,
I think this is new for me.
yeah, scorpion men. I don't know. So
Actually, no, it's not. I've seen the Scorpion King.
I
Take
just
it back.
I keep envisioning Scorpia from She-Ra.
ooh yeah. No, I don't know. They just say that they don't say what part of them is scorpion or human. I'm assuming the
I
bottom of
wanted
it is
to
scorpion.
be Scorpion.
They're scorpion centaurs. Well,
Yeah.
that's gonna be a thing in D&D.
So I just imagine that their top half was human because it talks to Gilgamesh. So that's just what
It
we're
could be a creepy scorpion head talking. They understood bird speak in this world. Why can't they understand scorpion?
maybe it's like the dude from Treasure Planet, the creepy one that's a scorpion, but he can talk because he's anthropomorphic.
I don't know that story.
The Disney.
I think we've had this conversation.
You need to watch Treasure Planet.
I choose to believe that they are just scorpion centaurs.
Sure, scorpion centaurs. That's what we're gonna go with. Except they have pincers, yeah. So these scorpion centaurs see Gilgamesh approach, and they're like, "This person has no fear and is part god," because they just happen to know by looking at him that he's part god. And they're like, "What should we do?" So one of them calls out, "Yo, what are you doing here?" And Gilgamesh replies, quote, "For Enkidu," end quote. So, so he explains to them that he misses him with every fiber of his being, and that they shared so many adventures together that when he passed,
One.
two.
They had one.
They had two.
One.
The Bowl of Heaven. They fought the Bowl of Heaven.
Oh, I counted that all as one adventure. Because like the adventure starts when you leave your house and ends when you come home. They didn't go home.
True. Yeah, it was pretty rough.
So many adventures, guys.
They shared all of one adventure together.
Does that mean that I go on an adventure every day I go to work?
Yes.
You in particular do.
Fair enough.
People lose limbs where you go.
Literally. Literally.
So so they had all these adventures, one adventure together, and that when he passed, Gilgamesh didn't actually believe that he was gone, and so he held him and cried over him because he truly believed that his tears could bring Enkidu back because he didn't actually believe that he was dead.
It's just like the Pokemon movie all over again.
Yeah. I told you guys, this is sad. It only gets worse from here, okay? This is a fucking sad story.
I can only see Pikachu crying Ash back to life.
Oh,
Yeah.
when he electrocutes him every
Yeah.
time.
And can't keep doing it. Yeah, and just fucking cries. I cry every time I watch that movie. Goddamn.
Yeah.
Fucking first
Oh
person
God,
movie.
I'm sad. I am so sad.
It's only gonna get worse. So his tears couldn't bring Enkidu back, and when he realized that Enkidu wasn't coming back, he lost all purpose in life. So now he is looking for Utnap so that he can have advice from him on life and death. Yes.
Question. Okay, so he was sad that for 7 days that Enkidu died. Then he was fine.
No, he wasn't fine.
He seemed fine. He was like, shit, I don't want to die now. I'm going to go be immortal.
No, that's not fine.
I was gonna say that is
fine. It doesn't
unstable.
It doesn't seem like grief anymore.
Isn't that like the first step of denial, or first step of grief is denial?
Right.
Bullshit? Yeah. He's still at stage 1.
It's not usually denying that you are mortal. It's usually denying that the person is gone.
Yeah.
Hey, look, everybody goes through grieving in their own way.
He was still at that point.
I don't know, it's just like he moved on for a while and now he's sad again and he's just like, now I don't want to live.
We'll get there, you know?
Emotions are complicated.
Yeah. Gilgamesh is not very good with the words, okay? He's better with his fists.
I was gonna say he's very good at the stabby stabs.
Yeah, that's about it. So the scorpion centaurs tell him, look, that's pretty noble, and no man, woman, or child has done what you have done. But to go through this pass means that you enter a place where there is no light. It is complete and utter darkness. And not just like normal darkness, it will consume your heart as well. So being in there has the potential to turn your heart into darkness.
It's a magical darkness.
Yeah. And this pass is 12 leagues long, which I looked up, and for us not nautical people, that is 41 and a half miles. So he has to walk 41 and a half miles in complete and utter darkness.
How long
what
is a
about for
marathon?
our non-American listeners? What's the kilometers?
I think it's 30 something. I did look it up. I didn't write it down.
Miles are longer than kilometers, so it would be more.
Miles.
How many miles was it?
41.5.
41.
30 something kilometers.
Miles.
33.
But it should be more kilometers than miles.
66.79. Yeah, 66.79 rounded up.
Okay, so 67 kilometers. Because I rounded the miles. It was like 41.4 something. I was like 45, 41.5. So anyways, so this pass is 12 leagues long, and Gilgamesh is like, what else have I got to lose? Let me pass. And so the centaur scorpions let him go. So Gilgamesh enters Mashu and walks for 12 leagues in pure darkness. I'm not going to go through each league that he walks, because it's the same exact thing. Just saying, gets real repetitive here. So he's walking in this darkness, and he doesn't really know like how long he's been in there for. Kind of makes him question if he's even like getting anywhere. And after a time of being in this pass, he starts to see light dawning at the end and finds himself entering a forest made of gems and metals. The way that they describe this forest reminds me so much of the forest from 12 Dancing Princesses.
I was just thinking that.
Yeah, it is like trees made of metals with like gem leaves and gem fruits and flowers. It's crazy.
And he stumbles upon a lake with 12 boats.
Are the gem fruits edible?
Don't eat the fruit. That sounds painful.
I don't know. I'm gonna go with not for mortals, and you'll see why in just a second. So he finds himself in this garden and sees Utu, the sun god. And Utu looks freaked the fuck out because no mortal has ever made it through the pass before. So Gilgamesh is mortal, but he is divine, so I think he just kind of has like a leg up on everyone else. So Utu says to him, quote, You will never find the life you are searching for. End quote. And then
Wow,
he
what
meets
a dick.
Indeed. So
Good
remember,
advice.
Utu
Dick.
is kind of like their god of wisdom. So
Dick with a capital D.
maybe some foreshadowing there. Just saying. So Gilgamesh is obviously upset, and he walks further through this like garden forest thing, and then he finds what is called an alewife. I had to look this up, so I wasn't sure exactly what that meant. And an alewife is literally the word for a woman who makes beer. That is what they are called, alewives.
And then he was like alcoholism.
Yeah, because you're married to your craft. So then you're an alewife.
I guess, yeah. But yeah, they're called alewives. Didn't know that.
That's kind of cool.
Excuse me.
It's not what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah. So her name is Siduri, and the moment she sees him, she's like, oh, hell no. Not in my house, not this ruffian. Okay. So she goes and like bars the door to her beer stand, I guess.
Bar?
I don't know what she bars a door, but she's not like in a building, so I don't really know.
She's like, she puts up a sign that says "closed. We'll be back eventually."
She's
And then like
trying to close the gate. I guess.
I was
I
gonna
don't
say,
know.
yeah. So she puts up the sign and then watches him walk away, and then as soon as he's passed, she puts the sign back down.
It could be like one of those street vendors where like when they open it, it comes out and it's your awning, and then you close it and it covers the.
Oh yeah,
We'll
maybe
go with that. That's what we'll go with. She's a beer selling street vendor. So she closes this door, but Gilgamesh is like, I want my beer. And shoves his foot in the doorway so she can't actually close and latch the door.
Okay, so that was a doorway. My theory is wrong.
Well, whatever. He shoves his foot up there to prevent it from closing. I don't know.
Context is important.
She's standing there with her leg up to her shoulder. No.
It's like one of the anime scenes when it's the rival and like coming up and just like hands in the pockets and like corners the main character and there's just like a leg right up by their head and it's like, hey.
Yes.
That's exactly what Gilgamesh does. And he's like, look, I'm Gilgamesh. And then proceeds to tell her his entire life story. And that he will not be denied a drink.
She's like, I don't give a fuck.
Pretty much. So Siduri tells him that if he truly is Gilgamesh, he shouldn't look like he does. I'm not going to explain how he looks, but basically he looks distraught and pretty ill-fed, and he looks like a wild, crazy person.
Like a hobo.
So Gilgamesh tells her, and I quote, despair is in my heart, and my face is the face of one who has made a long journey. End quote. And once again, he retells the story of Enkidu and his death, and that he is searching for a way to prevent the end. So Siduri tells him that power alone lies with the god, that power alone lies with the gods, and that he should revel in the life that he has, to enjoy having a wife, children, fine clothes, good food, all that fun jazz. But Gilgamesh does not agree. Enkidu is gone. What more is there to life if the friend he loves is dust and he will become the same one day? He asks her if there is any way at all to prevent this, and he tells her that he will cross any ocean to do whatever it takes. So Siduri thinks for a moment and then tells him no, you don't need to cross the ocean. So further into the forest is Urshanabi, and he is the ferryman for Utnap, and his role is kind of very similar to Chiron in Greek mythology, so like the ferryman for the dead. But Utnap is not in any way related to dead things. He's just immortal. So just clearing that.
Okay.
So if Gilgamesh plays his card right, Urshanabi might be able to help him out a little bit. So Gilgamesh takes his leave without a beer, I would just like to point out, and makes his way through the forest to Urshanabi. So Urshanabi is startled, and in that moment, he's working like this like tackle type item is how they describe it, and what he's working on breaks, so he snaps it in half because he's kind of freaked out. So Gilgamesh tells him what he told Siduri, and that with Enkidu gone, he is terrified of meeting the same fate. So he tells him that he will cross the ocean of death if it means that he will not die himself. But Urshanabi tells him that he can no longer make that journey because the item that normally would keep him safe when he passes through the ocean of death every single day is now broken thanks to Gilgamesh. And so he shows him this item that he was trying to craft, and that if you touch the waters of the dead, it's kind of like the river Styx, and you just like get pulled under and you die yourself.
Why was this item broken?
The item was broken. So he was working on this, like they call it like a bait tackle thing. I assume it's kind of like a weird like pole thing that he would use to cross the water, and he had to make a new one every day.
And like Gilgamesh scared him or something and it broke?
Yeah, when Gilgamesh comes up, he scares him and it breaks. So he's unable to safely cross the waters. So Gilgamesh is distraught, knowing that he's fucked.
Swim, you fool!
He's just kind of sitting there brooding over this. And so after a moment, Urshanabi kind of takes pity on him and is like, okay, look, if you go into the forest and cut 120 poles out of wood, I might be able to help you. But these 120 poles have to be 60 feet long, and you're going to cut them in, so it's called bitumen, which is what they use to pave roads and fill in potholes. It's just what it is.
This just sounds like he wants Gilgamesh to do 120 days worth of work since he has to make a new one every day. He's like, I'm going to have a stockpile. All I have to do is finish it or something, and I'm good for 120 days.
Not quite. So then when he finishes coating them with this bitumen, he has to place a furrow, which is like a cap that you put at the end of a wooden pole to prevent it from splitting. He has to put this cap on each of them. And once he has done all of that, he needs to bring them to Urshanabi, and then he'll be able to like help him get where he needs to go. So Gilgamesh sets out and finds all the items, does what he's supposed to, and brings them back. So they load all of these items onto his boat, and then they set sail through these waters. So after 3 days, Urshanabi tells him that they will use each pole to push them through the waters of death. So, like, they've reached the end of the normal water, now they're entering the waters, like the part of the ocean that is the ocean of death, and they have to use each pole to push them through. But once they use a pole, it's gone. Like, you have to come leave it in the water.
It's like acid
Yeah,
water.
I was thinking he was a lazy fuck.
So when they have used the last pole, they arrive at the shores where Utnap is. So Utnap is like, this little shit comes waltzing up to my crib and thinks he's the best bitch out there. He is not impressed. So Gilgamesh proceeds to tell him his story and how hurt and troubled he is by the death of Enkidu and how he fears for his own death. And Utnap actually kind of takes pity on him. And so he tells him that he will be able to help him reach this immortality that he seeks, but it is not going to be easy. So he says that if Gilgamesh can stay awake for 7 days without sleeping, he will have gained immortality.
Nope.
Or insanity.
And Gilgamesh is like, piece of cake. I fought the bull of heaven. I got this. Right?
I can't stay awake 1 day without sleeping.
So as the first night comes, Gilgamesh nods off to sleep, unable to stay awake.
Wow. Bro, you did not even make it a day. It's like the people that tell us that they're gonna fight the anesthesia, and we're like, I give you 7 seconds.
Oh, I'm that person! I remember! I made it to 7, but they were counting backwards from 10.
I was gonna say 7 seconds tops. Once they put that anesthesia med in, I have.
So he falls asleep, and Utnap's wife comes up and tells Utnap that he needs to wake Gilgamesh so that he can give up this farce and go home, because it ain't working for him. But instead, Utnap tells her to bake a loaf of bread for each night that Gilgamesh sleeps. So finally,
Get back in the kitchen.
Utnap wakes Gilgamesh, And Gilgamesh is like, dude, I just nodded off. Tell me I got immortality. Like, I was waiting for 7 days, bro. Like, I got this. And Utnap is like, you might want to look behind you. So Gilgamesh looks at where his head lay, and he sees 7 loaves of bread. And each loaf is like in a different state. So like the first one is hard as a rock. You know, a couple of them have molded. Some are a little bit soggy. And the 7th one is the only one that is fresh. So, faced with his own failure, Gilgamesh pleads with him for another chance. He's like, please, I was just tired.
To
It was
be
a long
fair,
trip.
he
It was a
walked-
long trip over the Death
Yeah.
He
Death
walked
Ocean.
31.5 miles through darkness. Come on, give him a break.
Yeah, but that was like 4 days ago because they were on the ocean for 3 days, and
I
that
know.
was they were on the ocean for 3 days before the Death Water.
Maybe he didn't sleep the whole time. And then he gets there and they're like, now you have to stay awake. And he's like, I can do that. I've
Yeah,
done
he's
it
like,
for the past 2
"Fuck."
weeks. And then out.
That's
Yeah,
funny.
Once you stop moving, you're out.
pretty much. So Utnap tells him that there is another way that he can gain his immortality. There is a plant that grows in the waters that has the ability to give man his youth back. And if he is able to go into the depths of the waters and find this plant and take it for himself and eat it, he will have gained his immortality. So Gilgamesh is like, cool, I can do that. So he goes into the water, dives under to the deepest part of the water, and finds this plant. He cuts it free from the ground and returns with the plant in tow.
Is
And
this the Death Ocean? Like he dives into the Death Water?
So, not the Death Water. I don't know where exactly on the shores he finds this water. I assume there's some other like pond, or maybe the Death Water is in the middle. I don't know. It's unclear.
Okay, I was just curious about whether or not like it was
Yeah.
relevant that like he dives into the Death Water.
Oh, Hercules. Same for Meg.
Yeah, it doesn't quite happen that way in either story. So he cuts the plant, returns with the plant, and Urshanabi says, okay, now that you have this plant, I will take you back across to the Gym Forest so that you can return home. Why Gilgamesh doesn't eat the plant right then and there, I don't fucking know, but he doesn't. So they make it back to the Gem Forest, and also like to point out, I don't know how the fuck they get back because they used all 120 poles.
Fly.
So Urshanabi leads him through the pass of Mashu, and when they have made it to the other side, they stop for the night. And Gilgamesh decides that he is fucking filthy and needs to like clean himself off and get back to not being a crazy person. And so he finds some water nearby and goes to clean himself off, carrying this plant. I don't know if you guys can tell, but he ain't gonna be with this plant much longer.
Why hasn't he eaten it yet?
No.
You got what you wanted.
He doesn't eat it yet because he's a man, and they never think like logically.
Yeah.
Or maybe he's planning to have a nice meal with it, you know, really make a celebration out of it.
Maybe
He's
the
going
plant-
to he's gonna season his steak with it.
it stinks, and he's like, I need to like work up a stomach to eat this. This is some rancid shit. I don't
Some
know.
rancid
His
shit.
own stench turned him off.
Rank immortality plant. I
So
might
when
make
he-
that my new Discord name.
Immortality plant?
Rank
Rank.
immortality plant.
That'd be dope. So when he gets to the water, he finds that there is actually a large serpent chilling in this water. Another biblical story coming up. So before he can react, the snake leaps out and swallows the plant and disappears into the water, never to be seen again.
What biblical story is this?
The serpent is supposed to represent the serpent that tempts Eve. So it's the parallel, is that it's the serpent that.
This serpent tempted nobody. He just stole this guy's lunch.
Like,
Fucked up fables number 73 or lesson number 73. If you find an immortality plant, you eat that shit as soon as possible.
right, eat it raw, covered in slime, just eat it.
Eat it while swimming to the surface. Just shove it in your mouth.
Yeah, channel your inner Aaron and just eat it.
Whole thing. So Gilgamesh breaks down crying because this was his last chance to gain immortality, and it has slipped through his fingers, quite literally.
Because he was dumb.
Yeah, he was stupid as fuck. You know, I told you that foreshadowing, man. You got it. So, Urshanabi comforts him, and then the next day they set out for Uruk to continue their journey back home. So when they finally arrive back in Uruk, Gilgamesh thanks his new friend and takes his place back on the throne as king. So the story doesn't quite end there. Officially, that is the end of the story for Gilgamesh. Well, there's a little bit more, but I just kind of.
That is
There's
very
another-
anticlimactic.
Yeah.
It is. So there is one more story that involves Enkidu and Gilgamesh that I kind of added in here. It's like a side story that you can kind of fit anywhere after Enkidu's death into it. It just kind of makes sense for it to happen at the end. It's called Enkidu, Gilgamesh, and the Netherworld, I think is the official title of it. It's very
That sounds like a video game.
very aptly named. So
Super original title.
right. It's very descriptive. Very descriptive. So one night while dreaming, Enkidu comes to Gilgamesh. So before Enkidu was ever created, the goddess Inanna had given Gilgamesh two items, Huku and Miku. No one really knows what they are, they're just mentioned by those names, and he later loses them and is literally never able to find these items. So in this dream,
One is
Foreshadowing to the plant.
yeah, I know. I was just getting ready to go. One
The
is
plant was
probably an immortality plant.
so
Just saying, he loses a lot of shit.
yeah. So in this dream that he has, Enkidu tells him that he will find these two items for Gilgamesh. Like, don't worry about it, I got it. I'll find these items for you. And Gilgamesh is like, I really don't care about these items anymore. I've kind of forgotten about them. I haven't been searching for them. Don't care. But now that you're here, like, tell me what's going on in the underworld. What is it like there? You know, one day I'm going to join you and I want to prepare myself for what the underworld is like. And so Enkidu tells him all about the underworld and how absolutely horrid it is. it's dark and sad and full of death. And when Gilgamesh starts to wake up, Enkidu tells him that he will wait for him. And so Gilgamesh rules as king, remembering Enkidu and trying to be the kind of person that he thought Enkidu would have wanted him to be.
Killing random people in the forest.
Yeah, I was gonna say killing everything he meets.
As per usual. So when the day finally comes, Gilgamesh passes on to the underworld, buried in the water like Enkidu before him, and remembered for the great king and hero that he was. And that's kind of the conclusion of the story.
So was he? Did
like,
Enkidu actually make him a great king?
Yeah, he was a fucking tyrant, and then Enkidu came along and made him less
a murderer.
Yeah,
but then he still killed innocents in the woods. They both did.
Right, I was gonna say, does he make him a psychopath? Because that's kind of what it sounds like he makes him.
To be fair, Gilgamesh only kills a handful of things, so. But he no longer rules as a tyrant. He rules as a kind king. That's how he's kind of remembered as a great and kind king, not as a tyrant.
Well, I suppose that's good to know.
Yeah. So, yeah. So that's the conclusion of the story. It's kind of sad, and again, it's really repetitive. So I'm sorry, but like all those instances where I'm like, and then he tells him the story again. If you ever read the story, it's literally the same thing, like just copy and pasted, like 4 times. Just the same fucking thing. So I kind of try my best to make it not quite so whatever. And then there are a lot of really good lines in there, so I had to use a lot of those in the second part because Gilgamesh says a lot of really gushy romantic stuff about Enkidu. So yeah, it's kind of what it is. So all told, it's always been a favorite story of mine, and it's sad, but the hero stays a hero. The guards aren't assholes, and no one's like out for revenge, and they meet together in the afterlife.
And there
Don't
is
feel
no
like there's
cannibalism.
And there's no cannibalism. Exactly.
Cannibalism is next week.
Yeah.
It's true. Cannibalism is in fact next week. It's specifically child cannibalism.
Wow.
Ooh,
That's
even
neat.
better.
Right, I don't think we've had child cannibalism yet, have we?
I don't think so. We threw babies on the fires, but we did not.
You did not
Eat
eat
them.
the babies, yeah.
No.
This time we're going to eat them.
Yeah.
I mean, not us. Don't
Yeah.
call the police.
I mean, not technically anybody, but like there's it's complicated. You'll find out next week.
I love it.
Awesome. It's a good story, Gilgamesh.
It is. I just every time I think of Gilgamesh, so before this, what I knew of Gilgamesh was from the Fate series, and there's this line where they all like King Arthur and Alexander the Great and Gilgamesh, and they all like get together. They're having like essentially like a tea party, and they're all arguing over who's the true king. And Gilgamesh is just like, yeah, you guys are like whatever. You're the king of nations, but I am the king of kings. And so
Yeah.
like that's just what I know of Gilgamesh is that
Yeah, I mean,
he's the king of
Narky.
kings.
yeah, he is. Like I said in the first episode, one of the titles for the like Epic of Gilgamesh is called "Surpassing All Other Kings." Like that's literally the name of the story. And then the other one is
Nice.
"He Who Stares into the Abyss," which I think is kind of fitting for the second half of it, more so than the first half.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my sad tragic tale. You guys are gonna get a lot of those here in the coming months.
So, if you enjoyed this episode, definitely come back next week where I will be telling a story that will bring us back around to cannibalism. It's
Cannibalism.
it's
Up to
only
Fable staple.
yeah. I was
Happy
it's
Thanksgiving.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny. Cannibalism is only a teeny piece of it, but there's cannibalism. So
She said happily.
yeah. So come back next week for cannibalism. You can check out our Instagram for some behind the scenes content at effed up fables. It's EFFED up fables. And if you are not on YouTube, then you can hop over there to see our lovely faces at fucked up fables. It's F asterisk CKED up fables. And then if you haven't joined our Facebook group, you should do that so that you can weigh in on some of our polls and stay up to date on everything fucked up fables. The only thing that it's gonna super give it away, but next week, like the biggest thing for next week is Mirror Mirror on the Wall. Yeah.
I didn't know that. I thought you were still doing the other one.
No.
Wait, there's cannibalism in this one?
There is cannibalism in this one.
I'm gonna need a red ribbon for my hair and an apple.
Yes. I'm gonna like try to put a big mirror on the wall behind me.
You should read the Neil Gaiman short story of Snow White too. Since cannibalism is involved in the real one, you may find this quite interesting as well.
Interesting. I always go back
I'll just
to
read that.
Once Upon a Time. I love that TV show. It's trash and I fucking love it.
It was great in the first season, and like I know it reached a point where I was like, all right, I'm done. But then I just saw it on Netflix again. I was like,
There are a couple parts where it's like, ugh, I'm done. But then they bring in like the next big villain or something. And you're like, oh, but I have to see these stories. You know, like you get sucked into it.
Because our nostalgicness as millennials, we wanted live action princesses and we never got them until now. And then that show is like all the live action Disney stuff we could have ever wanted.
Yeah,
That's fair. That is valid.
all of it, and I fucking love it. So
Is there cannibalism in that show?
no, it was on ABC Family. Okay, like it is.
Oh yeah, it is. It is.
Which is weird because it's a
There
Disney
could be implied cannibalism.
Yeah, it's a Disney show, so it's really interesting that it was on ABC Family. I don't know if Disney owns ABC Family.